Have you ever heard of or been at the restaurant Jollibee's? Have you ever been at an abandoned warehouse or an underground facility for that matter? Did you know that Jolly in the game will come after you if you don't hide or survive correctly? Well, the game you can buzz about for that is Jolly 3, both chapters 1 and 2. I'll stop with the bee puns. Hello guys, this is Tyler and welcome back to another FNAF Fan Game Review video. Today's episode will be focusing on both chapters of Jolly 3, which there are 2 of them. Last episode we reviewed Five Nights with Matinee 3, where I got a really good rating. This is a weekly series, where we will review a FNAF fan game per episode. There will be 3 categories of rating, which are graphics, gameplay, and story. Each of those 3 categories will be given a rating out of 10, which at the end of the video will be counted up to get a final rating out of 30. There will also be another section with a conclusion that can bump up or down the rating with a few points. Before we start, keep in mind this is my opinion, so don't go raging or starting wars in the comments. If you have different thoughts or opinions, leave them in the comments below. Also, for now on, if I am going to mention both chapters, I'll just say Jolly 3, unless if I am talking about one of the chapters, obviously, which I don't know if I'm going to stick to or not, but let's get right into this review, shall we? Jolly 3 is the 3rd installment in the Jolly series by the amazing IvanG, who is currently working on Jollibee's, which is based off of the real location this time. Jolly 3, like the other Jolly games, are a parody of the Jollibee's restaurants, where Jollibee, portrayed as Jolly in the series of the games, has a big gang who perform to the customers, except Jolly has a different gang or set of friends, those being Tweety, Maxie, and George. Oh, and Italianette, that puppet thing. There are 2 chapters of Jolly 3 stated in the intro. The first chapter taking place in an abandoned warehouse, and the second taking place in the underground facility which is under the warehouse in the first chapter. As you can tell, Jolly 3 is probably the best installment in the Jolly series. Without further ado, let's go on to graphics. So, the graphics. For pretty much the main 3 categories like this one, we will start with Chapter 1 and then go on to Chapter 2, which we'll probably do for the other categories as well. For graphics, we go for the character models, then rooms and extra stuff if there is any. Let's start with the character models. So, Chapter 1. I will say right now, they are good. The effects they give when in the dark or in their places are nice. They are also well made with designs of the animals they are trying to be. They are meant to be withered and old as well, which their fit looks good. I don't see any noticeable flaws in the character models. If they were, they would be minor, which I think there would be. Another good thing about how the characters look is the white fan feature, although that has been used for every other fan game character since the Joy Creation Reborn, or FNAF 3. That would actually be a flaw, though, unfortunately. A point that was pointed out by the creator of a Shadow Over Friday said in the Joy Creation Surrendered anniversary video with Nixon would be that the Phantom eyes being used got repetitive, which means there were no other ideas for the eyes. Even though the game it is trying to be like in the FNAF series, it's FNAF 3 and sister location, I would still count that as a flaw, but it doesn't ruin the game entirely. Now, the metal animatronics, they look good and well done too. The blue and black pattern is great on them, with even looking like spirits. Once again, the Phantom eyes! I'll stop now. But even though it uses them, I wouldn't really count that as a flaw for the metals, since they're supposed to be like the phantoms and our hallucinations. It becomes a flaw if they were added to a character who is physically real. With the good parts, the metals are Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy of the game, if you haven't known already. And so accuracy on who its counterpart is supposed to be of what mattered. For the rooms of Chapter 1, those being the control office for the Mate Knights, the octagon intersection between the office, assembly line, testing chamber 1 and 2, then the testing chamber control rooms, and the testing chambers themselves, which are the Tweety and Maxi post-night games happen. Also, the rooms meant to serve as locations for the cameras. There's also the room where you encounter the Jolly Suit with the heads of the Metal characters soonly after. The rooms for Chapter 1 are also great. They have great texture and lighting as well. The atmosphere is great as well, with the rooms perfectly representing their purpose, if that makes sense. Unlike the character models, I don't think there would be any flaws with rooms. That is actually really impressive. Moving on to Chapter 2 where, oh my god, Jolly has his mask missing, but with a rotting head inside of him. Yeah guys, this game right here goes far into detail, which I guess is a good thing. So starting with the characters, you can tell Jolly is supposed to look scary, and congratulations, Ivan, you succeeded on that part. Well, mostly. The character models are brilliant, especially where Jolly has his mask off, showing a red, assumably covered with blood or something, head. It does good in trying to be scary, which is silver, only though it is a short scare period until you're scared of his look anymore. Another thing I liked about Jolly and George is their textures and everything match is the room they are present in with the cameras. Like in the cameras with the blue background, George fits in, and Jolly with the red. They are in their normal colors when jump scaring you and when you're walking around the facility after night 5. Now, Jolly and George are the only ones represented as their Chapter 1 counterparts. Tweety and Maxi in Chapter 2 are shadow characters, so Shadow Tweety and Shadow Maxi. In Chapter 1, I believe the medals were the best designed and models, but in Chapter 2, the shadows take the cake for that achievement. I just like how they look. The purple and black colors are well designed, their lighting matches their current locations well, and they are just cool. Now we move on to the office minigame part of Chapter 2 with the Rusty animatronics. Now, the Rusty characters are, you guessed it, supposed to be like the Nightmare characters, and you guessed it again, the Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy of the game or chapter. Now, the Rusty gang are decent. Their textures are alright with, oh no, the Phantom Eyes. Well, that also went with the other Chapter 2 characters. I'm not counting this as another flaw with Chapter 2 since it was already declared as a flaw when talking about Chapter 1 with the physical, real animatronics. So, yes. Now, the metal with the feet and hands could look more like metal and have a bit more texture. Now, the accuracy with them in the original game is good. They look like them, which should be expected with a game with characters that have a counterpart in the main FNAF game. I think the medals are better, but the Rusty ones, like I said, are still good, but more onto decent. Now, the rating and conclusion for graphics, I would say pretty good for the most part. The downs were mentioned somewhere, but I do have to say the metals and shadows are amazingly well done, apart from repetitive fan game use of the Phantom Eyes, which I'm not going to make that a big deal because it shouldn't really be counted as a big deal. Final rating for the graphics will be an 8 out of 10. Time for the gameplay. That is great for this so far. So the gameplay. For gameplay, we go for the mechanics and how the game works. We will go for Chapter 1 and then Chapter 2. So, Chapter 1, it consists of the original Jolly game as well as the weathered animatronics and metal versions of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. The Jolly game is Jolly himself, Tweety, Maxi, George, and Italianette. For the main nights, you're in a control room, which is pretty much the office, and every character in Chapter 1, except for Italianette, will come after you. You have cameras to keep track of the animatronics as well as to repair a fan if it breaks, which the game will darken. This is crucial because if you don't, Metal Foxy will kill you. You also have oxygen and a gas supply you'll need to fill. Oxygen runs out when a fan goes out, and when gas supply runs out, you can't use the gas pipe leaving the office, which is how you deal with an animatronic when they do enter the room. You'll have to repair and refill the gas supply if it runs out. Like I stated a few seconds ago, when a character enters the room, use the gas pipe lever to puff smoke and gas out of the pipe, making the animatronics leave because their circuits can't handle it. You have the metals where Foxy kills you when you don't repair a broken fan, which, like I stated when we were talking about the fans. For Bonnie, he appears in one of the windows upon turning on one. If he does appear, flip up the camera or light up the other window, Freddy can appear upon lifting down the camera. Lift it back up to make him disappear for a bit, which is similar to Golden Freddy. Chica can appear when going through cameras. If you see her, wait for her to disappear off of it, or lift down the camera to make her go away. Freddy and Foxy kill you when either of them jump scare you. Bonnie, Chica messes with your gas supply when one of them jump scares you. After you beat a night, there is partial free roam with post-night games, one of them involving going through the testing chamber 1 to make paths for doors on the phone while avoiding Tweety. One involves typing codes on a phone while also preventing Maxie in testing chamber 2. After those two, you can go to a safe where phone guy gives you a random code to put in to open the safe, which you then get an item in after you open it. Another one involves Italianette jump scaring you and putting you on the assembly line to kill you. To avoid being crushed, you have to keep hitting the up and down arrow keys constantly until it stops. Another involves going into a storage-like room where you put in a code given by a phone guy and another hidden safe, but upon opening it and getting the item, the room goes dark and Italianette starts talking with the mask of the metal animatronics appearing. Also, after you complete the night entirely, you get an 8-bit minigame, except for Night 5, where it's about the story between Jollies and Freddy's. That is pretty much it for Chapter 1. My thoughts were the gameplay is good. In later nights, referring to the main section, it gets harder, where then it is about strategy and coming up with tactics to survive. Also, I always love when games have post-night games after its main part of the night, when Chapter 1's post-night games were great. It could get hard at points and even sometimes make you think you will die. Also, I like how it's partial free roam as well, which in FNAF fan games, it is mostly great. One gripe I had though was the luck-based factors in custom nights, and also Metal Freddy's mechanic of flipping up the camera when appearing, sort of exploring Freddy. It could have been more like original or something like that, but not really a big deal. Same with the luck-based factors in custom nights, which I think were purposeful. Moving on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is like Chapter 1 a bit, one of the obvious ones being partial free roam. Now, the main nights you have to survive in an office preventing Jolly, George, Shadow Tweety, and Shadow Maxie. If Jolly or George are at your doors, use the jammer in the panel behind you. George shows his white eyes at the right door, and Jolly doesn't make noises or visual cues, so you need to watch him on the cameras, which you will first on your left door. When you do watch Jolly on the cameras, however, he can't progress, except for later nights. Also, before George can enter the right door, he disables the AC. Speaking of the AC, in the repair system, there's an AC, ventilation, and camera system. You need to fix it if it breaks, or at least one of them, depending on the one that's broken. There's also a radar system you can use to detect Jolly and George. Also, if you see Shadow Maxie in the camera, switch cameras or flip down the monitor. If you see a part of Shadow Tweety in the office, you can't do anything about it. Keep in mind the shadows can't kill you. After the first 4 nights, you will be in a house where you have to decrypt 10 files, which works similar to FNAF 6 with the doing tasks thing. Sorry. Behind you are 2 doors and a window. The rusty animatronics can come from those with Bonnie and Chica sharing the left, Freddy in the middle, and Foxy at the window. You must keep the door locked at all times. If you hear a door unlock, go to the door and listen for breathing. If you don't hear breathing, then close the door and go back to the computer to finish decrypting files. If you do hear breathing, however, flash the light on them until they are gone and shut the door. After night 5, you will walk through the facility trying to get to the oxygen room, and once you completed the oxygen room segment, you have to walk back to the elevator from your first night. You'll have to avoid Jolly and George when walking, which if they are up close in the flash, hold your breath until the warning pops up, which means you need to stop breathing or you'll die from losing breath. Oh, and speaking about the oxygen room, let's explain that. The oxygen room is really identical to Jolly 1, more like a remastered of that game, except it's one night and it doesn't progress through time. Like I said, like I said, it progresses through trying to fix the room oxygen in each of the rooms in the panel instead of time, and the night ends until everything is fixed. Meanwhile, Jolly and George can come kill you, which if you see them at the window, just like Jolly 1, close the door until they bang on it. Then you can get the bad ending. For the good ending, you must go into the hacker phone on the menu and go to downloads. There will be 4 of them, which you'll need to open them. If you do, you play a minigame. You have to play all the minigames and beat them, which then you can get the good ending. The cutscene will be explained in the story category. because it's more onto the story of the game rather than the mechanics or gameplay. That's pretty much it for the gameplay of Chapter 2. Now, what did I think? Pretty good too. I feel like Chapter 2's gameplay is better than Chapter 1's. The only thing I can say is for the office, Jolly's check, the camera mechanic could be improved. All in all, the gameplay is good. It is original for the at-office defense, at least. You can get harder later, and I love how the oxygen room is a big remaster of the Jolly one, which it looks like it really tried so, which that is mightily solid. Now for the office section, I didn't really like that, to be honest, since by night 4 and down to the custom night, it gets annoyingly luck-based. The mechanic, at least for Foxy, might be bugged too, since at the door there was no breathing, and I closed the door and went back, but holy god, Foxy killed me. I should have been more nice to the Fox. I should have him as my favorite character instead of Bonnie. He wouldn't have killed me. Anyways, jokes aside, pretty much sometimes the house mode isn't stable. Besides that, I thought the gameplay for chapters 1 and 2 were good. The final rating for gameplay will be a 9 out of 10 rating. That is looking spicy. Moving on to story. Now, this story. I'll explain the story of both chapters one by one like we've been doing this episode. By the way, this will contain spoilers, so if you don't like that, skip this segment maybe, or close your ears. To those people who feel like they want to do it, did you? Good. Now to you people eager to know, let's get started. Starting with Chapter 1. There was an incident which 32 years later, a man ordered from the entertainment company that he worked at goes out to the abandoned factory, formerly where the Jolly Entertainment Company used to be standing. The reason for this was that the new attraction, Fazbear's Fright, from FNAF 3, is opening soon and needs artifacts from Freddy's and possibly Jolly's. The man is the player and has to go there for 5 nights of the week to search, but realizes he is in danger of the old Jolly characters with hallucinations of the Freddy gang. The player also has to go through little games to try to get to more items from security safes. After night 5, the game ends, saying the story will be continued in Chapter 2, which is the Underground update. Speaking of, that is next, but before we do talk about, there are also mini games after each night, which involve a man getting a job at Freddy's and meeting William Afton. Then the man takes his daughter to Freddy's and is killed by William, and an employee is hiding from the police to get in a truck. Now time for Chapter 2. Chapter 2, like you guessed it, is a continuation of Chapter 1. You weren't able to find any good artifacts in Chapter 1, so you are ordered to go to underground to search for more artifacts. You are in an elevator lifting down to an underground facility which belonged to the abandoned factory. He heads towards the office and has to spend 5 nights with 2 deadly animatronics film guy put in the facility to test your survival skills, with also the 2 shadow animatronics there as well. The player also, after each night, but night 5, tries to decrypt 10 files that were from the company, but is being stalked by the rusty animatronics. After the 5th night, you go for the facility to fix the oxygen and head back to the elevator, which once you get to a room and a floor for the elevator, it opens up to reveal Springtrap, which the player brings Springtrap to Fazbear's Fright, with the events of FNAF 3 happening after. The cutscene will be explained in the story category, because it's more onto the story of the game rather than the mechanics or gameplay. Don't worry, we're getting there. By the way, this is gonna have massive spoilers especially for people who have never seen it yet or want to get it and haven't seen it. So if you're not good with that, I would suggest that you go to the other conclusion, or at least my final thoughts. But for those people who want to hear it, let's go ahead, shall we? There's also a good ending scene too, which reveals Jolly is the dad and Italianette is the mom of the child in Chapter 1's minigames. I think, not sure about the child though. So the story for both chapters overall was decent. There could have been more detail in the story and it could have been improved. I do like how it tries to fit in with the FNAF story, and some of the big plot reveals are great, like the reveal of Italianette and Jolly and who haunts them. The story isn't my cup of tea, but it is alright. I would give the story a 6.5 out of 10. It's not bad, but not amazing. But that's alright. So the final part of the video, if you didn't know, this is where I say my final and extra thoughts and give the final rating to the game overall. Well, at least both chapters. Now, what I liked about the 2 chapters were that Ivan put effort into them, which you can tell in chapter 2 it was obvious. Like, it took a few months for Ivan to complete chapter 2, and with the final result, it was worth the wait, unlike other games. Looking at you, Case 2 animatronics, survival. Also, for some characters in both chapters, I like the jump scare animations. The jump scare sounds were mad though. All in all, I thought the chapters were good. Now, I added 3.5 points from that, so the final rating is 27 out of 30, which is an A grade rating. Wow. That is really good, IvanG. I knew Jolly 3 would get a good rating, at least chapter 2. Alright, so that is it for this episode of FNAF Fan Game Reviews. In the description below is the download link to Jolly 3 Chapters 1 and 2 and my Discord server, Tiller's channel, my Minecraft and Roblox channel, and my 3 FNAF Fan Game pages. Remember, you can suggest FNAF Fan Games I can review for episodes in the comments below, or in my Discord server in the suggestions channel. So that is going to be it for now. I hope you did enjoy today's video. This is Tyler signing out. Bye, everybody.